Wouldn't it be cool if we could create a 3D space that would allow us to wear our headsets and interact with an environment in 3 dimensions, where we could go through and look at documents from our team site, where we could post welcome messages, where we could go through and watch videos that we wanted to have playing in our environment? Well, we can do that, and in this video, I'll show you how to create this exact space. Hello and welcome to Learning and Technology. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can take a Sharepoint space and put it into a Teams environment. Then we can interact with that 360 environment. We can even wear a headset and interact with that environment. So let's go have a look at how we can put a Sharepoint space into Microsoft Teams. Building a 3D space where we can collaborate in Microsoft Teams is a lot easier than you might think. That's because the Microsoft Teams platform is so powerful because it sits on top of Microsoft 365 and takes advantage of the Sharepoint site that's driving this team. Let me show you what I mean. So here I have a Big Mountain Hike team site. Here I have a general channel. If I go to the general channel and move over to this side of the screen and hit the ellipse, you'll notice that I can open this site in Sharepoint. This now exposes the Sharepoint site that's being used to control and drive the content for this team. And I can make items in Sharepoint and then put them into the team's environment so that everybody that's part of the team can use them. So you'll notice right away that I now have a Sharepoint site called the Big Mountain Hike that matches the team site. And you'll notice here that I have the documents that are part of this particular team are actually here in this Sharepoint site. Same thing with things like my home button. So if I go home, this is actually a dedicated website for this team site. Now I have another video here on the channel where I show you how you can manipulate and change the content on this page and then embed it into the website. We're going to do something similar, but we're going to build a 3D space. So I'm going to go into new here and I'm going to create a new space. And this is going to now present me with some templates where I can build a 3D space that can be used either with your mouse. You can use your mouse and scroll wheel, but it really looks good when you have a headset. So I choose a few different templates here in terms of how I'm going to interact in that space. And just to get the maximum view, I'm just going to create a terrace looking out on a 3D space. And we're going to call this Outdoor Club. So we're going to have the Outdoor Club in 3D. So we're going to have this 3D space and we're going to say, get your headset. So we're going to have, we have something obviously more descriptive here, but just for the sake of this video, we're going to make it simple. And I'm now going to create that space. It's going to build a generic space for me. And, there's some mountains here. There's an illustration of mountains, but this isn't quite what I want. What I want to do is I want to go into space design and I'm going to be able to make a lot of changes here. So first of all, I can rename it. I can work with the description. I can change it from this platform. So you can see right now what's happening is this is a disk and I can go down. I can scroll out a little bit. Let me use my center wheel. If I scroll out with my center wheel, you can see effectively what I have is a disk looking out over a 3D space. But let me just scroll in and bring that down. I want to change this. I want to go down and instead of having an illustration, I want to go and use an image. You'll notice I could just make it a solid color. I could do a custom 360 file here, but I'll just make it an image and I'll choose, appropriately enough, a nice mountain scene. So this is going to be my nice mountain scene. I'm using my mouse to scroll around here and look at objects here. And what I'm going to do is if I scroll out just a little bit, I'm actually going to concentrate a lot of my effort on this disk here. And I'm going to put objects on here. I'll show you that in a moment. Now, to make it a little bit more exciting, I could add some audio so that when somebody enters this space, I could welcome them, say, welcome to the Outdoor Club, give them a little bit of a, description of what's happening. And then I can create ambient sound. Nature would be appropriate for this one. Now, you might not be able to hear it in the video, but now that I put nature here, I'm just going to see if I amp it right up. Not sure if you can hear that, but you'll have to trust me. There's the sound of wind and birds chirping. It's a nice little environment to come into. So I have this ambient sound in there. But it's still not quite where I want it to be. So what I can do is if I go into this plus button here, I can add all sorts of elements into this environment. So the first thing I'm going to do is I could put a document library. So if I put a document library, it's now going to change my mouse and it's going to allow me to place this document library wherever I'd like. So I'm going to place this document library right here. on this surface, and it's going to go to the site, the underlying SharePoint site for the team, and notice what appears. My documents folder. So now I can go into my documents folder, and those documents can now be put into this 3D environment. So I'm going to choose the general folder. I'll just choose the general folder and open that. And you'll see that I have some PDF documents at the root of the general folder. And I can scroll down here. Let's just move this with my mouse. So you can see I now have a turnstile with documents on it. Now I can change this a little bit. For example, I could go include the subfolders if I wanted to. I can change the library from here. I can change the way that it's presented, whether it's going to be monoscopic, stereoscopic, left-right, stereoscopic, top-bottom. I'll keep the default there. And then what I'm going to do is there's a little podium I can put there. So now those documents will appear on a nice little podium. And I can actually raise them up a little bit from the podium so that they're not sitting directly on the podium, so that when somebody comes to visit this environment, they'll be able to see these documents floating here on a podium. You can even have trigger actions on here. So document, you're going to open the document, so there's no real trigger action, but you can do different actions, like for example, play some audio. So when somebody approaches this, they could click the audio and they could have them. I could say something like, choose the document to fill out your camping list, or whatever the case may be. So you can do all sorts of interesting things here, and you can even have a little description here, and I could say these are camping documents, right? So I could put in some information here. You can see that I can make it exciting. I could even, if I wanted to, spell it correctly. So these are or maybe not. So I can do these are camping documents. So I'll make sure we put that in there. Now that's one element I've put in there. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna put in about 4 elements here just to show you some of the capabilities. So let's put in a text element. So this is a very common element that I might put in here. Again, I can choose where I want that to appear. I can put that anywhere within this space. So I can bring this down a little bit, and I can go in, I'll put the text in here, and I'll say welcome to the hiking club. So we'll have some text in there. Welcome to the hiking club. And then I can, change the way the text appears a little bit. So I'll make it blue text, and then I can make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. I'll make it bold, leave it the default size there. So you can see I'm starting to build up this little space here. I don't know if I click bold. There we go. And I can change the text color. So alignment, a lot of things you can do with text. I'm not going to go through all the different options there. They're fairly straightforward. One of the tools, though, is I can put the podium there. So now I have a podium here, and then I can float that text just up from the podium. And then I can do things like I could add a action. So for example, when somebody interacts with this element, it could go in link to another space. So you can have spaces linked to another space. So this could be a tile that takes me to another area where we interact. So you can do a lot of neat things, play audio and such. I'll leave that as it is. I want to show you a few more elements. So now I'm going to put an element here. So again, I'm going to hit the plus button here to add an element. Now in this case, I'm going to add, let's go ahead and add a video. Now, the videos that I'm adding here have to be videos that are available to me within the organization. So let's say, for example, I had a number of videos on the OneDrive that were shared with me, or somewhere in the organization on how to, pitch a tent, how to fold a sleeping bag. This is for my hiking video. But in my case, what it is on this particular site, I do have some videos that I've uploaded. So I'm just going to go and grab this amazing video, and I'm going to insert it in here. And then I can actually take this element, and maybe I want to make this a little bit bigger for when people come to visit, so you can change the size of it. I can pull it a little bit forward so it's more on the podium. So again, if I scroll here, this is going to be me navigating a 360 space. So I'm putting these objects sort of in my gallery area here. So I can play around with that, and you can see here what I can do is I could play it in the background so that it's automatically playing in the background. I can go in and I can set some transparency options, add some captions to it and such. I can put in a custom thumbnail. I'm happy with that thumbnail there. So there's a number of things that I can do to change it. Alt text, so I can have accessibility. I could put this video again on a podium if I want. Put it a little bit up from the podium. Looks like an LCD TV. So there we have it there, put a description. The last element I want to show you here, and I'm not going to go through every single element that I can add, you can play with that yourself, but here I'm going to do the embedded element because this one's very important. So I'm going to do an embedded element, and let's say, for example, I want to put a YouTube video in there, and I'll be self-promoting, and I'll just pop in a YouTube video. I think I have this YouTube video here. I'm not sure. I'll have to go and grab it. So we'll just go and grab a YouTube video. So let's say for some reason I want to, maybe the whiteboard tutorial here is something that I want people to do for the camping trip. And I'll just stop this from playing once it comes up. And what's happening now is my system's a little bit slow because I've got a lot of stuff running on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the link for this video. I could grab the embed code as well. So you can either grab the embed code, but this link will work just fine. So I'm just going to grab this link here, go back to my design over here, and then I'm just going to paste this in here. So we'll go ahead and paste that in there. Now, the one thing it won't do is put a thumbnail on here. So what's going to happen is if I go in here, you'll notice that it's going to automatically try to get the thumbnail, but it's not going to work. So I'm going to use a custom thumbnail here, and here I can choose images that I have in my environment, but I'm going to grab a stock image. I could upload an image. So I'll grab a stock image and I'll just type in, something like whiteboard. I don't know if there'll be any stock image on whiteboard. Yeah, there's no content there. Oh no, that's a good one. So we'll have this one here for the whiteboard. That'll be my stock image that I have. And now you'll see that that will embed in there. And again, I have all the other options where I can make this a little bit larger, change the size of it, so on and so forth. So you see I've built up a little bit of a space here. And then what I can do once I've built up the space, let me just grab that one there, make it a little bit larger. I can then go in and publish it. So I won't just grab it here and publish that space. So now that space is published, but it won't show up on my team site just yet. I have to do another thing. So you can see here that with that space, I now have an address. So I could just copy this space link and I could just send that out to people, or I could email it, put it in Yammer and such. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my team site. And on my team site, what I'm going to do is maybe I want to have that as points of interest. So I'll go points of interest, or maybe I'll create a whole channel for our 3D space. And then when I click on the plus button here, if I go down into SharePoint, it's going to ask me what I'd like to add. This is going back to the SharePoint environment for my Microsoft 365. And you can see I've got all sorts of pages in here on the big mountain hike. And I can scroll down. I've got some other spaces that I created. So here's the outdoor club in 3D. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to save that element. And you'll now notice this becomes an entire element, an entire space that's embedded into my team site. It'll build that environment. I can do all the things like promote and such, but here I have a space now. And here I have a space. I have the documents. I have the welcome to the hiking club. I have this video that's automatically playing. I have this link here where if I click it, that'll bring up the video, the YouTube video that I created. I'll close that down. I can go in, grab a document. Let's swing back to grab a document. Now you also notice there's a headset button down here. So I can grab a document here. It'll bring up the document. I can work with it in here. I can actually go through and I can close that document. I can scroll through those documents. There's only 4 PDFs that I have there, but I could scroll through the documents. I might make that a little bit larger so that they're easier to see what the documents are. And I can have all of these things. I've now embedded a 3D space into Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams just keeps getting more powerful and more encompassing with all the things we want to do in one place. If you like videos like this, go ahead and comment down below, like, subscribe, share with colleagues that might benefit from this content, and check out some of the other videos on the channel. Thank you so much for watching.